I did try to have mute music. It is on that original slide, but I had a bit of a technical issue and unfortunately failed dismally to have it there. But it will be there next time, just to get everyone. Yes, Darren. My I'll call it podcasting presentation skills need a little bit of work. So we'll see if we can have a smooth situation next time. Work a bit better. And thanks for the recording, Nicole. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, maybe you could have played some Tina Turner today.
Yeah, that would be appropriate, eh?
Yeah.
Bit of Simply the Best. Okie dokie. So just wanted to acknowledge that we are meeting today, particularly I am, on the Turrbal and Jagera people, and I'd like to pay my respects to any First Nations people on the call and elders past, present and future as we get into our meeting today. Welcome everyone. So today we'll just have a quick discussion around machinery government changes and what that means for us and QGEA and all the rest of it. We'll also, the holdover from last time, apologies I couldn't present last time on the digital economy strategy now that that's launched. And then Nicole's going to have a bit of a talk about the beta release for the business capability reference model. So the team have been working with some of you on getting that sorted and out, and it seems to be shaping up quite nicely. So without further ado, MOG, what does that mean for us? So some of you may have seen that under the machinery of government changes, digital services, well, effectively our unit under Chris McLaren has transitioned across to Transport and Main Roads. So we now report into Neil Scales, Director General, and Minister Bailey. So what's happening in the background there is obviously there's a whole heap of things going on from an administrative transition perspective. As far as any of the work that's happening at the moment, as far as QGEA, as far as our services and those sort of things, nothing changes. So at this point in time, whilst there may be some impacts on some of our administrative processes in the background as we sort out delegations and all that sort of stuff, holus bolus, lift across. Chris has had meetings with the Minister already, and I do note the Minister made some very nice comments in Parliament about the work that the team do and our future, and he's very keen to get involved and support us. And I believe Chris is meeting with Director General of TMR, if he hasn't already, over the next few days, and bringing Neil Scales up to speed as to what we do. And we're sort of in the middle of that sort of formal consultation process at the moment. So that'll all be sorted, and effectively what will happen is that any of the policies from a delegations point of view at that level is already transitioned as part of the administrative orders. So Neil has delegations already as part of that process to sign off any of the new stuff that we're doing. As other things transition and the dust starts to settle, if there are any other changes, we'll just keep you in the loop. You may notice some minor changes over the next couple of weeks with our signature blocks, and the Yammer presence still remains the same. So yeah, nothing really changes there at all. Are there any questions around that one? Are we changing buildings? At this stage, Darren, no. So those sort of things, everything is as it was. We just keep marching on, and the good folk in corporate services and those sort of areas will sort of work feverishly in the background to just nicely transition over as much as we can. Most of the people in those areas have got experience with MOGs in the past, so it's a well-trodden path, and we'll just work through any issues as they arise. But yep, we're still going to be at 111 on level 21 in our digs there, and then whatever happens in the future, that's for management to decide. But I wouldn't suspect that we'll notice any changes in the near term until all of that dust settles. Any other questions on that?
Just had a quick sidebar, Lance, on the digital console. So we actually do have the MOG represented in the digital console.
Yes.
So we just wanted to pop that up very quickly for everyone so that anyone on the call who has also been impacted by the changes, you might be able to use this hopefully helpful visualization. So here's the digital console, and in the Machinery of Government Administration Orders report here, we've got this structure of government visualization. So this is where we are at as of the announcement last week, and this is where the administrative responsibilities lie. But you can actually have a look back and see what's changed. And you can see, for example, here's the stuff coming from what was Cheddar over to DTMR, and the new Department of Treaty, Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander Partnerships, Community and the Arts. So that's the way Cheddar has been split, and you can see some of the other arrangements that have moved across the other agencies. So just letting you know that that's actually a report available in the digital console. So if you're having any conversations in this space over the next few weeks, this might be a helpful resource for you.
And a shout out to our insights team under Stuart Taggart, so Brooke and Don and Jennifer. They're responsible for this awesome work here to give everyone that visualization. So well done. Cool. Thanks, Nicole. That was a good idea.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, digital economy strategy. So that was launched by our previous minister, Minister Enoch. What we'll go through is there's 3 key areas as far as the digital economy strategy goes, and then there's 6 priorities. So if we have a look at digital customer, the 2 priority areas in there is the contemporary digital government services. So that's really having a look at government service delivery across the broad spectrum of that, and then at a high level policy design, so that program policy design, so that those services from a customer perspective and a single view of Queensland government, and that those services are trusted, easy to use, and deliver outcomes. And the second area there is around closing the digital divide, so promoting that access, affordability and availability, because we are a large geographically dispersed state, making sure that people have access to services, and the services are designed to be as accessible as humanly possible for everyone. Digital market, so that's where we start looking at industry and government co-creating the digital economy, so working very closely outside of government. So the connectivity for regional communities, so there's a very big focus on digital infrastructure, and making sure that things like internet connections, mobile networks and those sort of things, so that infrastructure side of things across Queensland is uplifted. At least people can get access to things. Industry and businesses, so helping industries and businesses excel. So that's really around how do we help industry, small business, get access to and leverage technologies, so that they remain competitive, can grow and compete in the digital economy. And then the third element within the digital market is sort of aligned a bit to that as well, is we've got to have a pipeline of talent for digital careers. So anyone who's been in the market recently over the last 12 to 18 months trying to get experienced resources knows it's quite difficult and quite thin on the ground. So there's programs involved in there as to how we assist and uplift digital talent within the economy, so that we've got that pool of resources for businesses to pull on when we need to. The third and final area is around digital government. and that's making sure that, you know, as a government, Queensland has the tools, the resources, the ways of working, you know, the data accessibility and those sort of things, so that we can take our facilitate and take our role in delivering digital outcomes for Queenslanders. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so I won't go through all of these in here, but what you'll see under each of those three areas there are some of the higher level initiatives that we're doing. Now, this isn't just being delivered from QGCDG, so this is a whole of Queensland government. So whilst we will be delivering some elements of these programs, some of those elements will also be delivered by agencies in their own right. They've got some programs themselves that are on foot, so it's around making sure that we're joined up, connected, and supporting those agencies in delivering their outcomes as well from a Queensland government view into the economy. And Sean, yeah, there's a very big focus on disadvantaged communities and in particular First Nations communities in a number of these areas. So we've got, yeah, there's certainly a lot of focus of that across all of the elements.
Yeah, thanks for that, Lance. Just on the far right-hand side of this slide, you can see, I'm not sure if the highlight's coming across very well on screen, but we've got that first and last dot point specifically being delivered by the QGEA. So just as a bit of an update, so we now we're reporting against those as directly relating to the strategic action plan as well.
Nothing like a bit of focus.
I think that was all we had on that one, Lance.
It was. So thanks, everyone. That's just a quick update. Obviously, we'll make the slides available so you can have a bit more of a look there, and certainly happy to answer any questions on those particular topics. And Nicole, away you go with the business classification stuff.
Lance, so yes, we are beta release time, very exciting. So if you were present at our last showcase, we walked you through a little bit of the behind the scenes. We said once again a huge thank you to our team of collaborators that worked with us tirelessly on bringing this together. So very excited to be showing you the actual beta of the business classification reference model today. So just as a bit of a reminder where this model is being pitched, it's looking at very much in the business architecture space, directly supporting service delivery. So from the existing QGEA refresh material, we have that diagram there, which is the core government functions, and we've got government services in there as well. So this model sits in that space, and we've actually shown the connection to that, which you'll see shortly. And we had the idea of this three-tier sandwich to have the strategic layer up the top, and these are capabilities that look at the direction for the organization, for the agency, for the business, and making some of the decisions around that. We've got the servicing ones, which are clustering around the actual service delivery of day-to-day line of business, and then we've got supporting ones, which are your enabling type capabilities. And also a little link back into what we just saw from the digital console, the idea that the service capabilities can have a connection through to those administrative orders. So naturally, the service that we deliver as within each of our agencies has a strong link to there. So that was a recommendation that we can leverage that set of data when it comes down to drilling down for each individual agency. But let me get the diagram up on screen. So let me move my screens across. Just give me a quick hoy that you can see this come through. Okay, hopefully you can see this. So yeah, we had a bit of a first draft last time, and I did say it might change in looks. It definitely has. So this is, I guess, the honeycomb or the archipelago of islands, or however you want to call it. So this is the business capability reference model in its beta form. So you can see the layers represented here. So we've got the strategic tier. Let me just zoom in on that for you. So in that strategic space, definitely things around strategic management, the activities that help an organization transform, plan for the future, move towards that future, and also things around a governance perspective. So from your compliance and audit, we can see that there, enterprise risk management, governance policy, managing programs, and also governing bodies, and also keeping that strategic focus on external relations, whether they be across government, up and down government to federal and to local government levels, delivery partners, as well as engaging industry. So those are the kinds of capabilities that we have in that top layer. Now, the reason we've gone with the honeycomb approach is we didn't want to make a very stringent hierarchy and say that you can only have one capability nested within a parent, and then there's a roll up kind of thing, because we do understand that sometimes capabilities are a little bit nebulous. So if an organization wants to take this as a reference model, and perhaps your org structure is organized a little differently, and perhaps you've combined enterprise risk management and governance together, it enables you to move the honeycomb a bit to suit your organization and the conversations you're having, particularly at that executive level, but still be able to report back to known objects on this reference model, even though you might have had to structure it a little bit differently. So we're trying to, this isn't the same as one of the classification frameworks, which has a very rigid structure. This is about enabling you to tell the story within your organization. So that's why we've gone with the honeycomb approach. So in case you were wondering, we drop down now into the servicing level. And so this is where we're not going to be prescriptive from a whole of government reference model and tell you how to run your organizations. We've taken the service lines. You can see sort of the darker lozenges up the top there. They come from that core functions model from the QGEA refresh elements. And so basically you can take that service line and then combine it with the service types below. So those are kinds of products and services. So for example, someone might be asking for a camping permit. So you might have a combination of environment, land and water in that service line, and permits and authorities in the service types, and putting those together. What we do have called out, however, is that regardless of the line of business and regardless of the kind of service, you're going to have customer relationship as a very strong thing. It's all got to be customer centric, customer focused, customer initiated in some cases. So we've got a cluster there for customer relationship, customer experience and customer engagement. And we then have the stock standard service management. So if you're familiar with like Porter's value chain or even the APQC, which has a top layer of service delivery about designing, developing, delivering and managing and controlling services and products, that's what those two capability groups there are about. So the design and development and delivery of services. So the idea is that you'll have capabilities that are broad, but then when you go to line of business, you might need specialist capabilities which you can nest underneath those for your agency specific model that relate to some of those services in that space. Rolling down now to the supporting one, we've got we've got a whole archipelago of these things here. So the usual suspects are here. So you've got your enterprise asset management, you've got information management, supply chain management, financial and human resource. And here we've actually got a worked example of why there's a bit of flexibility in the model. This was an interesting conversation that our collaboration group hit, which was, where do you put payroll? And it was one of those, it's like a spork. Is it a spoon? Is it a fork? We just put it in the middle, not quite sure what to do. So we actually showed as a demonstration in the reference model itself that you can have an intersection between some of these clusters. So financial management and HR management obviously overlap when it comes to things like payroll and superannuation, because it's about paying the people. And so there's a touch point. If there are boundaries, there's a touch point across boundaries at that point. This does mean that you could move things around as well. So if in your organization supply chain management or procurement is very closely bound to financial management, that little cluster can come along and attach itself to the side of financial management. So these are all at what would traditionally be level 1 and level 2. We have not drilled down any further because here be dragons. However, what we have identified from the collaboration group is that we've got some recommendations of frameworks that you can use to drill down. So for example, in the information management space, we said, well, why not leverage what we already have? We've got the information management policy framework, which calls out those categories and also goes down to a level 3 below. So what we've done is just taken the top level and said those are the key capabilities around the information management cluster. If you want to unpack, say, information asset management and go all the way down to custodianship, register maintenance and everything, you will find that in the associated framework for information management policy. And so we've got a couple of other recommendations for other clusters. For example, technology management, there are many frameworks that could be used in that ICT space to elaborate on these, but we've just taken those top level. And we have included the enablers of the enablers down below. So we've got legal services, the idea that, there is some legal and legislation and regulatory involvement. We are government after all, so that's going to be a common thread, both through the supporting capabilities and the service delivery and the strategic. We've got communication that applies across the board, whether it's external facing, internal facing, stakeholder, customer, etc. So comms are included as a little cluster there. And of course, security, making sure that the way our organization operates at each of these different tiers is secure and that we're assuring the security of our staff and our customers in the process. So this is the beta model. Let me zoom back out so you can see it. And we when I can drive my mouse well, we will be publishing this on Yammer as well as an accompanying document with the beta definitions for each of these elements in the clusters, as well as some notes for some of those drill downs, like I mentioned, so referencing frameworks that can be used, and a bit of commentary on how to expand the service lines and service types. Thank you. I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments now, but if anyone's got some questions, please do feel free to jump in and ask me that. Yeah, so just looking at the comments, Kath, Terry, you've got where would things like investment planning and governance fit in? So absolutely, that's in the strategic layer. Let me just zoom in. So under governance here, where we talk about program and project management, right at the start, we're going to have an investment program for the organization. So your investment planning will be there, but you also might find a bit of that planning taking place in strategic management, which is before the governance kicks in. So organization design and change management. So when you're looking at where the strategic plan is, so perhaps your business plans, roadmaps, that kind of thing would be in that strategic management space. Lorraine, yes, tech management. And that's some good feedback. So we decided to bite the bullet and change it from ICT to technology management. However, these elements have been lifted from the federal government reference models back from 2011, and they still have the acronym ICT on there. And perfectly happy if as a result of the beta we go, no, let's just make it consistent and make it tech operations, tech resource, and throw that around there. We just left its lineage in place for now. And when you have a look at the definitions document, you can see why. We can easily tailor those to say, let's go with the term technology, ICT. We've got a whole space for information. It doesn't have to be bundled in with the C and the T anymore. So yeah, if that's part of your feedback, we'll happily take that on board and action that after the beta. Question from Aya, where does energy sit? Not sure, Aya. So if it was missing from these service lines in that reference model, and there isn't a spot for it, Lance, do you recall, because these were created last year, so we've taken them directly from the report. Was there a mapping energy-wise at the time?
No, I don't believe so. So those mappings were basically came from here's generally where it is, acknowledging that there are, and I'm assuming it's government-owned corporations, Energex, Ergon Friends, and those sort of people. It's by all means, if we don't have it there, we can certainly put one in there to reflect that, or you can put one in there as well. But
I guess it's a key key service of that department, energy and public works, and energy is pretty big, and I mean Queensland government's all over it. including
Yes.
hydrogen. So I think that's a major service line that we can't ignore.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
we'll take
Yeah.
that feedback on board, and we can certainly have a service line in there. Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, thanks for that. And that means we can go and update the other model as well, because we want the two to be in sync and also represent who we are in government as at today. So thank you for that.
Right.
Any other questions? Sorry, my scrolly thing's disappeared. Excuse me while I scroll. Todd, communication seems odd. Is it intended to be like branding? Yes, it is. This is probably making it more general than targeted specific comms. So you can see elsewhere in the model, we do have relationship management and customer engagement. And in order to do that, you need some form of comms. So that could certainly be drilled down further from each of those. So for example, when it comes to marketing and media, we could expand that and add something, say, like channel management. And that's totally up to you, our people who will be using that. If you think that we've missed a box here or a hexagon here, and that would help to explain what comms is about, do let us know. So yeah, that's the intent, or that it's going to support those engagement things in the other tiers. And thanks, Lorraine. Yes, we'll certainly take that technology comment on board. Christine. Is there a differentiation between high-level management strategy, workforce management, and day-to-day implementation, timesheeting, so general administration? Sort of, maybe, not quite. So let me explain that. The idea is that you will have strategic management, and then it filters down into levels of implementation. So I guess we haven't put anything down in this space of supporting that says it's your day-to-day management, because they are implementations of something that has been strategically handed down. There is going to be a level of management involved in each of these capabilities. Certainly in terms of your workforce and your timesheets and that kind of thing, work planning, you're going to end up with the workforce planning here in HR. But if it's day-to-day administration and management, that will live where it sits best with the capability that it's managing. So if you're looking after purchasing and procurement and you've got some management around there, you might find that coming out of the sourcing capability. If your administration is frontline service and you're at the customer service center and you're assisting walk-in customers, it could very well have the management is actually sitting in your drill down under the combination of the service line and the product that management is for. So this allows us to move things around and not have them, just because it's management, it has to go in that bucket, but to say, why am I doing the management? Where's the value out of this management? What's it contributing to? And associate that with the business facing capability. But if you've got any thoughts on that, and the whole point of releasing the beta is for everyone to, if you have the chance, it would be wonderful to test this out. Even the process of testing, you're finding that is making communication difficult, or it's too much of a shift, or there needs to be a spot for that. This is what we're releasing it for you to test it out, put it through its paces, and let us know how well you're able to map your organization to this, whether you take an existing capability model that you might have, an organization structure, or an administrative structure that you might already be referencing. Yes, CAF, an agency can be involved in multiple service lines. So these are not meant to be bound to those administrations or ministerial portfolios. These are basically service lines of government. And while, as at today, they may look a bit like department names, we know MOGs happen and things get split and moved around. The idea is that these are still services that need to be delivered to citizens, regardless of where it sits in an agency. So absolutely, you can combine parts of service lines, and you can combine service types against service lines as well. Brendan, yes, just a confirmation on ICT not being conflating with technology. We'll follow up on that one. And Jeff has a comment about have to think about operational technology. Does it belong in technology management with its own hexagon? So we've got ICT operations, and then yes, you might even end up with operational technology as a further level down from that. But we'll have a think about that.
Nicole, it's probably fair to say, given the timing, that this is going to go out as a beta anyway, and all of the
Yes.
commentary that's going is going to be part of the feedback loop anyway. So let
Yeah.
people digest it a little bit more and then provide their formal feedback for it, I think, rather than try to answer
Absolutely.
them all now.
Oh no, I just want to make sure that anything raised in this session, at least we noted that we'll get back to you, or we'll cover while we've got that. But yes, thank you everyone. That is the beta. So by the end of tomorrow, that should be sitting on Yammer along with the definitions document for you to start using.
Awesome, Nicole. Thank you very much, and thank you for the team. You've obviously been very busy bees, and that was a dad joke about the honeycomb. Anyway, we're at time. There was just one question that I promised I was going to answer, and that was just, is there any thinking around why digital services would go over to TMR? That is something I'm not privy to. Well, I could certainly have there is some alignment in particularly around our service delivery. We have a very, very large service delivery capability through our network in service delivery and operations, as do TMR, maybe. But yeah, I honestly don't know. It hasn't been discussed, and obviously we're not privy to those deliberations. But this is where we are. From my perspective, I think it's great. It'll be a good outcome. There's lots of opportunity for us to leverage, and personally, from my perspective, with the release of the digital identity as part of the digital driver's license from TMR, the digital identity stuff and the whole of government service delivery that allows us to do is a really good alignment as well. But yeah, sorry, I can't give you any more concrete information there. But we'll just work through it, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you all again and working with our colleagues in TMR in the future. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome Thursday, Friday, and we'll see you next fortnight. Thank you very much for your involvement and your questions around the beta. As always, you know that we appreciate people coming in and giving us those comments, and we'll certainly take those on board and make the necessary changes in there. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
I thought you were building the digital highway, Lance.
The digital highway. Okay, you've set a challenge there, Darren. We'll see what happens. See you, folks.
Thanks all. Bye.